Welcome back to another episode of the Rollin in My 5.0 podcast with KASL Customs and the Infamous Project. On this episode, we discuss the wild world of Facebook Marketplace. We also get into some social media woes that both Chris and I have surrounding Facebook as well. Chris also gives us an update on his tours over to the Martin Brothers shop and the 79 pace car that they're putting on the Roadster shop chassis. And finally, we end up discussing learning how to drive a manual transmission. We hope you enjoy this episode. Hey, buddy.
What's going on?
Not too much. We're getting a little rain today, so actually, we got proper rain this morning, like webbed feet rain.
Oh, yeah, we've been having a lot of interesting weather here as usual, which nobody can explain, right? They're just like, there's been more storms, more hail in the past 3 years than like the past 25 years combined.
I know that I tried to figure that out at one point in time, like the Texas swings, and my logic doesn't prevail because the closest thing I've got to resemble Texas is Alberta. But the difference with Alberta, well, obviously it's north, but the other side of it is Alberta is like very high elevation, like north of 3,500 feet elevation, even though it's flat, and usually flat means close to the ocean, right? But it's not. So the elevation explains their wild swings because they have everything else about Texas and Alberta are similar. You'll get these fucking crazy hailstorms that'll blow through. Well, you guys won't get like snow when you shouldn't get snow, but Alberta will. Yeah. But there's the elevation factor. And you can get smoking hot to the next day just miserable cold.
Yeah, no, it's pretty crazy, dude. Like even here, right? We've already had a couple 100+ days, and then there's dipping down to like 65. You know what I mean? Like you're talking a 40-degree range within 24 hours. Like that's pretty substantial stuff. And like I know even, right, like Shop Dad and Ontario, like they're yet to see their spring. Like I guess they're in spring, but their spring isn't really transitioning into more of the summer type environment. Like they've been soaked with rain, and it's like April showers has just continued straight through May, and now here we are 3 days away from June, and I think they said they've had like 2 nice days this year so far. Wow. So I don't know, man. It's pretty crazy. And I know even Dubai, like they recorded, I think, what was it? 125 last week already, which is a little, early in the season, if you will. Now Dubai kind of different scope or a different comparison, but still, like all these places that we're talking about are messing with cloud seeding and everything else. And I know we've talked about it before, so we don't need to go down the weather hole. But speaking of which, with top down weather your way, I see you still have a vert in the background.
I do. Actually, well, hold on. I'm going to add one more thing to the weather that I think will probably like raise a few eyebrows out there as far as our listeners are concerned. So Fox Body Pete responded to my Instagram story. I was just like, I haven't really posted much in a while, and I'm down here at the lake on a beautiful night, which was the night before we recorded this, so the 28th, and had the dog down for a swim. And I threw my feet in the water, and I remember thinking like, holy shit, it's still quite cold in the lake, right? But Fox Body Pete reached out to me through that story and goes, how warm is your lake? He goes, like, they're on what is it, Huron or whatever, like one of the Great Lakes.
Yeah.
And he goes like, that bitch is like 30 degrees. Like it's cold. And you know what? I don't think it warms up a ton, but still 30 degrees is quite cold for it still at this time of year. So I had to look it up because we've got this little local, I don't know, it's almost like a Kijiji slash news feed. I mean, it's a website in an app, right? And they have a lot of cool intel on there. One of the pieces of information being the temperature of the lake. They got a thermometer out there, right? So I was like, well, fuck, I don't even know how cold it is. I remember thinking it was cold last night, but I'll look it up. So go on the deal, check it out. Our lake right now is 67 degrees.
Holy shit, that's almost like spring fed.
Well, and it's not at all. It's mountain fed. We didn't have a lot of snow this year. Even up high, it was light. So the runoff is not as intense as it typically is either. And there's actually where we take the dogs swimming, there's a creek that feeds the lake right there. And you can usually gauge what runoff is doing just by going there, right? Like it's fucking whitewater rapids rolling into the lake, right? And it's not. It's just a calm little spitter like it would be in the middle of summer. But now the other side of this is this lake, you know, depending on where you are in it, gets upwards. I'll give an average temp. It gets upwards of like 85 degrees, 87, 88, 89. And it never freezes. So the part of this that I thought would maybe raise a few eyebrows with folks is like, you live in Canada. Like, how does that occur? And I'm always going on about this banana belt weird area that we live in. I mean, there's kind of proof of it right there. You know, end of May and the lake's almost 70 degrees.
That's crazy, man. You must have like some volcanic rock heating some shit up from underneath or something.
Well, there's allegedly two holes that they don't know where the bottom are, but it is a deep lake. Like I'm talking 750
Yeah,
plus feet.
because like, dude, like 90 degrees is that's like hot spring status.
Yeah.
Like in Costa Rica, I think it started around maybe even a little less, maybe like 86, right? Like anything that's naturally that temperature is, I want to say, is probably like hot spring, and it goes up to like 105, right? Like there's these different
Uh-huh.
pools and stuff that but like they always maintain that temp.
Right.
And like here in like downtown Austin, Barton Springs, it maintains, I want to say it's like 68 or somewhere around there, like natural spring fed, not a hot spring. But it's like the same temperature all year round.
Hmm.
It never
Interesting.
really changes. And then like obviously in the summer, right, when you're sweating your balls off, it's quite refreshing to jump into. But yeah, no, it's pretty crazy, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's teeming with life too. Like people come here from all over the world to fish. There's, I've never seen anyone pull one out of there, but there are apparently sturgeon. There's salmon, trout, ling, like you name it. It's in that lake. And then there's well, I mean, the thing that's this valley's the most well known for is the Ogopogo, which is
All right.
this alleged sea serpent that lives in Okanagan Lake. So, yeah, it's a weird place. It actually, like this Okanagan Valley, is a hot spot for UFO sightings too. So,
Right.
like, there's even like way out there tinfoil hat weird shit too.
So here's one. So, right, annually, typically, me and, well, Jordan, Mr. Notorious, and a couple other guys that do our backcountry camping, right? So
Mhm.
portaging and all this shit. Um, so the one year was a
Do you think
pretty
the
in
folks
depth.
down? Do you think the
What's
folks in the deep south would know what portaging is? It's
Well, I don't
kind of
know,
a Frenchy
carrying
term.
your gear backcountry camping. They would get the idea of that. Well, portage your canoe or
Yeah,
whatever your watercraft is across land to get to the next lake.
yeah.
So we we had one that was pretty intensive, I think it was probably like 5 portages. And of course, you're going through all these different lakes, which in Ontario, the Kawartha Lakes is a big group of all these, right, little bodies of water. And the one that we picked, I think, was called Black Cat. And they're like, oh, it's a Miromictic Lake. And I'm like, what the hell is that? And so come to find out, and it's weird, right? Because this lake is surrounded by a whole bunch of other lakes, but it happens to be Miromictic, which means that the water layers don't mix. So there's never a turnover. So whatever those layers are, it says Miromixis, the phenomenon of permanent stratification, is caused by density differences between the water layers, often due to differences in salinity or temperature. So, meaning like you could have different temperatures in the layers. But to put this into perspective, like, dude, there's only, I want to say, the amount of Miromictic lakes in the world is like so small.
Oh, wow. You know, because
there's only 30 to 36 Miromictic lakes in the world.
Jesus.
So to think that, you know, this little spot in the middle of Kawartha Lakes, Ontario, has one of these lakes, and it's a small lake, like you could canoe the whole thing, but it just happens to be that that body of water is one of those. So pretty crazy, right?
That is. You know, actually, you saying lakes turning over, like that's another phenomenon that, well, I can't say for sure if anyone has like solid intel as to why this happens, but it's pretty much up there with like Mother Nature related shit that, you know, like why a seed will grow if you put it in the right conditions and give it water. Like this whole lake turnover thing, for anyone that doesn't know, like lakes will like flip from bottom to top. So like the water will roll. And I found out about this just a little while ago. Like it wasn't long ago because I would always see these guys fishing in, you know, particular areas, and you can kind of, on the days if it's really calm during a lake flip, you can almost kind of see a weird sort of current. It's not really a current, it's almost like a ripple. I don't know how to explain it, but from the vantage point I had when I noticed this, and I had someone tell me, I could see this kind of weird ripple thing. So anyway, yeah, the water flips from bottom to top, and fish, being the unassuming creatures that they are living in their environment, they just all of a sudden jump on the elevator and they're up top. And if you're a, you know, read in fisherman, you take advantage of the situation and, you know, troll at 40 feet worth of depth, not fucking 500. And that's where all the fish are on a lake turnover day.
Yeah, and usually you can, well, depending to like the clarity of the water, like if it's a lake that's fairly clear, you'll see it'll be brown on top, like if there's current, right? Because it's grabbing all the shit from the bottom and bringing it up to the surface. So it's usually kind of the other telltale of turnover.
Yeah, and it makes a thinker like me go like, okay, how, like, unless the lake has some sort of intelligence, you know, like how is this occurring?
Well, I think it's sort of like just hot and cold mixing, right? Like I think that probably, all right, obviously how it forms rain clouds and wind and all of these other things, right? I think it's just kind of happening from the water perspective, right? Versus these rare Miromictics that are like, okay, this layer is always going to be 65 degrees and this one's always going to be 80 degrees and we're not going to mix. And how cool would that be? Like, I'd actually be curious as like a scuba diver to like cross through that transition.
Yeah.
Like vertically, right? Like sometimes you kind of feel a warm one if you're like one spot's a little warmer than the other because the sun's shining on it or whatever it might be. But that'd be a super interesting like experience to just be like from cold, hot or hot, cold or whatever, right?
Yeah, that just melts my brain, you know? Huh. Okay. Anyways, fuck. Anything goes here, folks. Okay, the vert sale. Yeah. It's been interesting, right? As anyone knows that has ever sold anything for that matter, especially a Fox body, right? Lots of, is this available? Yes, it is. And then just a thumbs up back. You're like you just checking pulses here. Like, what are we doing? Right? It doesn't compute for me. Now, funny enough, actually, again, Fox Body Pete. I made fun of somebody that sent me one of these, left the names out and stuff, but he reached out and he said, there's something in the settings of his Facebook marketplace where if he looks at an ad, I think it was just that simple. Like, I don't think he had to like spend a certain amount of time on it, whatever. He just clicks on it, goes into it, bang, it auto fires. Hi, is this available? So, maybe they're like, as much fun as we make of people that send these things, maybe a lot of them are doing it like unbeknownst to them.
Oh,
So
maybe.
Yeah, I hope, because that'll give me more hope for society, right?
Yeah, but that just means you're extra dumb that you went in and fucked with settings and you're not sure what you did.
I sure as fuck hope I'm not sending any. Good grief, I'd have to end my life, like, because that drives me crazy, fucking wild. Like, yeah, it is. And if the ad's up, like, you got to think about this from a statistic standpoint. If the ad's up, what are the chances that it's not still for sale? Like, less than 5%.
Yeah, because Facebook actually does a pretty good job at being like, hey, like, are you still trying to sell this?
Yeah.
I've done it. I've legitimately done it, had the messages, people come pick it up, and I forget to go in. And then the Facebook assistant comes in and it's like, yes, I sold it. Thank you.
Right.
So yeah, to your point, there isn't much room, right? Because like, who wants to be bombarded with shit that you don't have anyways? So,
yep.
Yeah, man, I feel like the market, maybe it's just the vert market. Although we're getting into the season now, kind of officially, maybe a little warmer here in Texas. But I was actually thinking the other day, because I have access now to a set of 17-inch chrome ponies, but they're 5-bolt. And I do have like the cheap man's 5-bolt conversion literally laying on the ground. I'm like, man, do I just do that and throw those wheels on the Cabernet Vert and, go that route and send it, then just keep the wires. Like, keeping the wires isn't going to hurt me. I bolt them on whenever I feel like on something else.
Yeah, I think you definitely broaden the swath of people that may be interested. Because I've got a guy, I've been through, I don't know, let's say maybe probably three, and now I'm on the fourth guy of people that are showing like heavy interest, right? Either they're coming, or there was a fellow out east that was looking into transportation and stuff like that, right? So they're bought in or whatever. The guy that I've got recently here, I'm just kind of letting him do his thing, and obviously it's a first come first serve. Most people realize that too, right? And I talked to him on Wednesday, and he's like, yeah, like answered a bunch of questions for him, and he's like, yep, based on what I've seen, I think I'll just like wire you the money, so leave it with me and I'll get back to you. I'm like, okay, sure. So like, I don't know, in a roundabout way, it's technically sold. But what made me think of that, you saying the pony thing, he sent me a picture of this silver coupe that he had mentioned on the phone, 2 pictures actually. And I mean, it's essentially my vert in a silver coupe, right? The whatever silver ponies and a 17. That man, does it look good on that silver car though? Like, it's just, like, I don't know, right? It'll touch you when you see it. And then he throws in the fact that it's like, a 15,000 kilometer car or something. Apparently it's only knock, black guts too, like everything, right? Its only knock was it came from Ford as an auto. And like, as if that's even a knock. But like, as far as a purist is concerned, kind of a knock. I'm like, why the fuck did you ever sell that thing? He's like, it was just time. I'm like, okay, one of these guys goes through them a little bit. But yeah, for the same reasons he's interested in this one, because I think it spoke to him in its form that it's in right now, right? It was like, it's got those same ponies on it and whatever. And they I get it, they are a very generic ordeal, but I think any Fox Body fan that's worth their salt out there goes like, well, the reimagined 17 or hell now even the 18-inch pony, you pretty much can't fuck up. If you can't think of a wheel that you want to run and you're like, well, whatever, I'll just do this for now. You're going to hit a home run for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, no. And I think, so funny enough, that blue and silver two-tone GT that I went over and now did a motor swap and everything else, he didn't really he's not a chrome guy. So the wheels came off. I actually got my snipers bolted on the car to see how he feels about those. But yeah, I was thinking, the shine against the Cabernet of the vert and all that will probably tick all the right boxes. And, that car is very original in many respects. So I think it'll maybe help appease the right buyer. So we'll see.
Well, Cabernet is one of those colors too that I think you've got lots of options. I know everyone's going to have their particular tastes and stuff, but it's one of those colors that I think, hell, you could even do like a black and brushed and it would pull it off, whereas some cars, quite literally, I mean, you don't have a lot of options.
Yeah.
Dude.
No, it's true, man.
Okay, this wouldn't be loud enough for you to hear, but I was thinking about you the other night. I'm sitting here at my desk in my garage. Oh,
I heard it. What's that?
Crickets, dude. I don't know where they're coming in. So, yeah, and I got this banker's box under my desk, which I kind of use as a file cabinet. And I move it, and here's this little fucker staring at me. I'm like, what are you doing in here? You guys and your kind of never been a problem inside. And yeah, now here I am. So I've got a couple of his buddies with the vacuum, the shop vac. Apparently I didn't get this one.
All right. Oh, that's too funny.
I can hear him walking around too. Tick, 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 tick. I hope this doesn't fuck up our recording.
I'll be fine. It was just when you stop there, you could actually hear him so faintly in the background.
Okay. Unless you're watching this, folks, this is not going to be funny, but I'm going to get this fucker. Hang tight.
All right. Oh, I can hear him. Now he's going to be cricketing from inside the shop vac.
No, his buddy died quick.
All right.
He's holding on for dear life. Hold on.
Oh, God. What are you doing? Stabbing him? Cutting his legs off? I don't hear any more noises.
Got him. Make sure he's dead. Okay, sorry about that.
No worries.
He's been driving me nuts all week, that little shit.
Oh.
Yeah, I thought about you and your sticky paper all over your shop. Because,
yeah.
Crickets, I mean, hell, if you were selling them for meat, you'd be a rich man around your part.
Yeah, they get pretty intense at certain times of the year. Actually, I want to say last year they weren't too bad, but man, there was one year it was like infestation. You just move something out of the corner. And thankfully, crickets don't really do damage. They're kind of useless. They're just, cleaning up that, 100 little cricket amigos piled up in the corner is always a pain. It's you end up, it's an excuse to do a shop clean is really what it is. Cause you got to move the boxes. Cause it's amazing where they get themselves into.
Well, that's what I'm wondering, right? I've even gone as far as, garage door closed and I got no windows or anything in my door, so I can turn this essentially into a like dark coffin if I want to. But if you do it at the right time of day when the sun's blasting on the front of the house with all the lights off, you can kind of see any gaps in the door or whatever. And I had 2 gaps bottom corners, so like total insect vacuums, right? And I got in there and shoved a whole bunch of like 4/0 steel wool. So I was like, how the hell are you ever going to get through that as a cricket or whatever, right? Man, like to your point, these little bastards, they must be able to like squash themselves like mice or something. I don't know how they're getting in.
Yeah, and it's like they just like develop overnight. Like they're probably like this tiny little thing, and then they grow into. And like we get these weird beetles here too that like they come out at night, and usually they're on the screen, kind of like almost like June bug status. So you can like peck them off the screen. And it's like in the morning, you catch them belly up, and then they explode and look like little piles of shit.
Right.
And so they're like this 24-hour fucking bug or something. It's crazy. But again, pretty harmless, other than just like these little explosions all over the place. So,
right.
Yeah, they're like self-destruct mode.
Yeah. Yeah. Ticking time bombs. Okay. So while we're still fresh on shit for sale, well, foxes for sale for that matter. I wanted to get your thoughts on like, I guess, like Carfax related questions, things of that nature. Like, where are you at when you're like, where's your mind at if you're considering a car from an online ad? Like, are you, hey, is there a Carfax? Because I'll share with you where I'm going with this. Like, I bought this car sight unseen, other than photos and videos, right? Because, like, if you can, I'd like to think I know the cars well enough that if you can show me all of these areas that I want you to show me, I'm good. And then it's like, well, do you want to hear it run? Like, okay, but like, even motor related shit doesn't really worry me all that much. It's like, chances are it fucking needs plugs or something. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like if it's as untouched and your photos show that it's as untouched as you say it is, like I don't get hung up on any of that. And I've actually only had maybe one ask me if I've got a Carfax on it. And I'm like, no. And they're like, can you get it? I'm like, listen, I don't have a Carfax account either. Like you can, if you want, like I'll go a long ways to help people out, but like, no, I'm not spending my money to get you a Carfax. Like, fuck off. So like, I think you know where I'm going with this, with that kind of explanation, right?
Well, it depends on the situation in the car, but for instance, I buy the Carfax packs. Like I think it's like 5-pack or 10-pack or whatever it is. And generally speaking, any Fox that I'll buy, if they don't have it, I'll run it just to kind of peace of mind, just to kind of see where it came from, where it spent its life. Like, especially if like somebody from, Canada tells me they have this rust-free car, but it was a Southern car its whole life. Well, I want to see that timeline and what that looks like. If I'm buying something that I'm expecting to either build or drive or something like that. And to your point, usually the pictures, if you get the ones that you need, will tell you enough, because a clean foundation is a clean foundation. If the motor's blown, the motor's blown. You almost don't care because you just want a rust-free, clean, numbers matching or good paint or whatever it might be that you're after. Right. So at that point, the Carfax would just maybe support that. Okay, there's no, accident listed, but I mean, not all accidents are reported. And in fact, a really good example is this 93 Cobra that I just bought. I actually never pulled the Carfax. I never even asked him about it because I'm like, I already know it's fucking hit.
Yeah.
So what more do I need to know? Now, the one thing that did fool me was that he was under the impression it was a 49,000 original mile car. And judging by the way that it presented, like initially minus the fucking damage, it could have very well been a 49,000 mile car. Now the seat covers was a little weird. I'm like, okay, why'd the seats get recovered? Maybe the guy was fat. Maybe it got some wear. Maybe he just didn't. Maybe something happened. He was a
Mhm.
smoker. He burned the friggin' tweed, so he got a set of covers or whatever, right? But then I'm going through all the receipts. So he gave me this envelope, dude, SVT certificate, window sticker, like all of the docs that you would be thankful to receive when you're buying like any Mustang, let alone a 93 Cobra. And then I find one for like a performance shop that says that the motor is rebuilt at 44,000 miles. And I'm
Hey,
like,
now.
who the fuck rebuilds a motor at 44,000 miles? So then I'm like, you know what? Let me pull the Carfax on this thing. And I had 2 left in my pack. Sure enough, the car's 149,000 miles. Does not
Oh,
show like it's 149,000 by any means. And the same thing, this guy probably never asked, or maybe he knew and was like, whatever. I personally don't care because I was more about getting it for what I needed out of it. But to the point, okay, it's 149K, but it sure doesn't show that. And I'm sure that there's 49K Cobras out there that are, if it wasn't hit, would be in worse condition than this one,
right,
right? It kind of depends. Was it driven in the winter? Was it a northern car? Did it already have a hit? Was it repainted because it's sun faded or blah, blah, blah? Like this was an extremely well cared for car. And yeah, fresh motor with, right, 5,000 miles since the rebuild. Who can complain? And
right,
this happened in like, I think 2017 it was rebuilt. So pre-COVID, the whole shebang was like $3,500. And I'm like, where are those days of a rebuilt motor? You know what
yeah,
I
oh,
mean?
sure.
Like long gone,
Well,
but different conversation. But so to your point, right? Like Carfax does have a value from that standpoint.
yeah,
But here's the funny thing. You know how their crash or if there's an accident, they'll say like minor or major or whatever. So this
yeah.
accident that was reported is actually reported as a minor accident.
Oh my,
And that is everything but minor. Like
yeah,
minor to me is you got to replace a tail light, a bumper, maybe repaint one panel, maybe 2, but you're not replacing panels. Like we're talking you need frame machine and like frame rails and a whole bunch of shit. And that's
yeah.
minor.
Oh yeah, shit. So, yeah, okay, I'm glad I brought it up then because yeah, this is an interesting contrast for sure. How you're looking at it, especially with a fresh example of that too. Um, yeah, for me, I've always just looked at it as like such a hypothetical thing that like the only way that the like a real true blue line item by line item Carfax is going to tell me anything that I can't already tell is if the person wasn't handy, right? Like all it's really going to tell me is every year that it was registered, right? And they did all their own maintenance and they like it never went to a dealership at whatever. So that's out the fucking window. I guess I'm looking at it from my perspective. Like, okay, what do I do with my vehicles? Anything I own is just going to literally show where it's been registered. That's it, you know? So I'm like, what the hell do I care? Now, to your point, cars in Canada, the ad says Southern born, whatever, right? Okay, let's confirm, whatever. But see, even then, right? I'm like, well, if I'm going to put eyes on this thing and stuff my head under the side of the car, I'm going to be able to tell if it's like a Southern car or not, or like 99% certainty I'll be able to tell, you know?
Yeah. I think it's
Um,
just, you know what I mean? That little, is there a skeleton in the closet that is maybe reported? Because the reality is Carfax didn't really come into play until, I don't know, the 2000s. Like I'm
yeah,
trying to think. That's the problem. These cars are actually too old to really have the reporting. Like if we, for instance, the F-350 that I'm looking at, um, any newer vehicle, it'll tell you every single time that thing went in for service, for warranty,
yeah,
like the washer fluid got fucking topped off. It's going to tell you in the Carfax report. And
yeah,
that's sort of a challenge, right? Like if you ask, say, hey, where's the service records? And you got to reach out to the dealer. You got to ask them to black out the previous owner's names and their contact details and shit. And a lot of them don't want to do it. So Carfax is actually extremely beneficial because it'll tell you everything, especially underneath warranty and everything else. After warranty, or in the case of Fox bodies, you know what I mean? You'll usually see the old Pep Boys oil change, tire rotation, like little bullshit things like that. But you're never going to see that original warranty work or recalls or any of that shit that was done back in the day because Carfax wasn't there yet. And I guess to furthermore to the point of Canada in particular, Canada didn't like they got on the Carfax bandwagon even later.
Yeah.
So, and right, like Ontario has its own used vehicle package thing, which really all it did was report owners and mileage for registration, like you were saying. So, as a Canadian, if you're buying a Canadian car, does a Carfax really matter on a Fox body? No, you're going to find more looking at it yourself. Unless it had originated in the US, you're going to get more information, or a little bit more, possibly. But that's really it. It's really a newer car thing.
Well, another good example of a discrepancy that I have, which is massive, is the 79 Gia. That thing on Carfax says it's got 103,000 kilometers on it.
Oh, we debunked that though.
Yeah.
It's right, because it was a mileage to kilometer versus mile thing where they're saying, oh, those kilometers are miles. And then all of a sudden it's like times 1.6 the mileage, you know?
Yep. Yeah. So like the old girl's barely got anything on her, right? 30,000 miles. Okay. I really didn't want to forget this. Now, this Cobra motor was rebuilt at 44,000 miles.
Yeah.
And so somewhere between 44,000 and 49 that's currently on it, somebody's done the old pull the fucking pin out of that odometer.
Well, no, there's no 100,000 digit.
Oh, there's not?
So here's Fox Body fun fact. I believe the state of New York in 93 was the only Fox Body US spec with the 100,000th digit in the odometer.
Oh, see, really? Oh, okay.
Canada has Canadian clusters have it, right? You see the 100,000 because obviously kilometers are rolling up faster than miles are. But yeah, any US car outside of New York. So my neighbor, Fox Body John, he's got a New York car. He's got the 100,000th digit. And funny enough, the 10th digit is actually red in color.
Oh,
so it must have been like some special outfit just for US cars in 93.
Now that you say that, yeah, I'm thinking about this one over my shoulder. Hell, I've even got a picture of the odometer in it. And for some reason, I had it in my head, though, that there was a year like inside of the 87 through 93s where like it changed. But no, this is kind of blowing my mind now. I think the more I think about it now, it's like, yeah, no, like you roll them over and you're back at zero.
Yep.
What a fucking stupid, like that kind of made sense back in the 60s and shit, you know, like, cause they were all like that. Cause not many people went very far, right? You lived half a mile from work.
And think about like even like 80s, let's just go straight to the Aero, first year of the Aero, 87, 85 mile an hour speedo.
Right.
Like we have speed limits in Texas that are 85 miles an hour on the toll road.
Yeah.
Like, how does that make sense?
Yeah, just to bury the old girl every day on the way to work.
Like, not that 85 mile an hour was the speed limit back then, because it had the big, all those speedometers have the big red 55 on them, right? Because that was like,
yeah,
that's it. You're not going faster than this. But still, even at 55, like to think that somebody's only going to do 99,000 miles in one of these cars, like they're probably one of the most indestructible cars that were ever built in the fucking 80s.
That's totally the thing, man. Like I'm looking at this, like for these cars, it doesn't make any sense that things stop at 100,000, because 100,000 on one of these is nothing. But like a 69 C10 pickup, like, yeah, you can find those things with 30, 40,000 miles because they didn't do nothing with them,
Yeah.
short trips and whatever. But shit, I guess I even knew this subconsciously and wasn't thinking correctly.
And I think it's only 93. Maybe there's some 92 in there. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, it's something really wonky like that on the US cars and the state of New
Right.
York. It's sort of like Cali had MAF in 88 and no other state did, right?
Yeah. Okay, so that heart has got 100 and change on it.
Yeah. So,
Right.
well, technically now it's only got 5, but yeah, all the running gear. And the other interesting thing too, right? Like, so somebody commented and it's like, oh, it's got the flat-sided Cobra intake. So of course, I knew that there's all these
Sorry, buddy.
weird variances, right?
That was the thing. Okay, now I'm picking up what you're putting down, because what was leading me to believe that the odometer had been fucked with is that you said the motor was redone in 2017. Right. So that's why you're saying it's only got 5,000 on. Yeah. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't know if anyone else was fucking not following that or not, but
Yeah, so no, like that was the point, right? Like it's like, okay, if this thing only has 49,000, like who rebuilds the motor at 44? Like what happened in this poor car's infancy, right? And then the Carfax told me otherwise, and it was all the numbers made sense. And at that point, it's like, okay, 144,000 miles. I could see why someone would want to do a refresh. It's kind of
right.
justified at that point. So, yeah, 149,000 miles. And then, yeah, so come to find out, it's got this flat-sided, so it's just smooth on that far side of the intake. And I remember there's talks of the variations of intakes. There's like 3 different paint colors that the Cobra intakes were. But the weirdest thing was I started doing some research on this whole flat-sided thing. So the number of the car is like 3,600 out of 49, whatever. So kind of like later in the food chain from a number perspective, but its assembly date falls into, I think, the earlier, because it was something like only the first 200 or 300 cars got this flat-sided intake on it.
Oh.
So it's like, even though it was assembled early, it ended up with this later number. So I don't know. I know there's Cobra authorities out there and all this stuff, but I found that was pretty cool to find out. And obviously it's not a sunroof car, which is cool. But man, Vibrant Red is definitely way too orange, man. It's not a good color.
Right. Yeah. Because I know I watched your video. The other thing you said, the seats were like a TMI or something.
Yeah, which then made the mileage make sense, right? Obviously, if there's 140,000 miles worth of seat time, there's probably some wear in the tweed, and they redid that. But man, like underneath the hood and everything else to look at, you wouldn't know.
So non-leather car, like it was a cloth Cobra.
Yep.
Okay. Interesting. So then what's the plan? What are you thinking with this thing? Like, obviously the running gear, aside from, well, maybe that diff's a little fucked up, but
yeah. So, it was hard because going, I thought I was like, I didn't know the driver's side quarter was fucked up. I'm like, in my mind, it's like, I can fix this. Like, this will be, a good car to fix. And then you show up and you're like, okay, no, this is more than just fixing. Or like at that price point, it didn't make sense. So then in my head, walking away from it, it's sort of like, okay, well, what makes sense if it's a parts car? And actually, Lewis was the one that I was quite surprised of convincing me to pay more than I was willing to pay. And then the more that I thought about it, was making sense. Like the fact just to be able to have that car parked next to my black one once it comes back from paint and just literally like do one of those. Like the amount of time that'll save, knowing that it's a fresh motor now. like even like the wiring harness, like everything. Like, I don't have to like touch or clean almost anything, right?
Right.
So to me, it's like, okay, that's a huge win. And then originally I'm like, because I know what Lewis went through to try and find OEM side skirts for his, and like front bumper covers. Like there's a lot of money. Like shit, the hood insulator's mint underneath that hood. I bet you the hood with the insulator is $1,000. The side skirts are a couple $1,000. You know, you just have all these like little Cobra isms, like that people or anybody that's restoring a Cobra would love to have a Cobra VINed panel on their car,
Yeah.
I'm sure. But then I'm thinking about it like, do I really want to dismantle the car and the body panels? Because after being at Martin Brothers and seeing the 79 pace car, I'm like, shit, like you put this on the frame machine and you get the body straight and then cut all that fucked up flooring and frame and whatever out from underneath it and stick it on one of those fast track chassis that's full chassis, weld in, ready to go. And because like the originality of that car, to bring it back to original, that's gone. That's a lost cause. At least in my opinion, from an ROI perspective. But Cobra on a fast track chassis with a Godzilla and something else in there, maybe.
This will be interesting to kick around though. Like, would you be better off going that route, like fast track chassis, custom floor, all the rest of it, or removing all that shit and putting it on your straight, clean, black shell? Like, where do you think those two final price points would end up and compare to each other?
So the thing is, like, I really just want the motor, transmission. I'll take the Mac exhaust because that's cool. The wiring to the ECM. I need the door panels and the dash. Everything else that I have with my 93 is already there. My trim is just as nice, if not nicer. I mean, I already have the headlights, the tail lights, like all of those little intricacies and all that shit. I've already have all that. So to me, it's just, I have a Cobra motor that came with mine, not original to my car, but it came with it because it came out of another Cobra that was getting coyote swapped. So that motor's got like 65,000 miles on it. It's capped off. It's super clean. I've got the wiring harness. I've got the computer, but like it needs cleanup and it needs, I need a transmission. So I need kind of like all these little bits from the drivetrain perspective. Although I have them, this to me is just, I mean, I can now sell that stuff off for pretty good money and just use this drivetrain. And essentially I still have a body with all its panels. And this is what I was thinking. I was thinking that to actually, if the car could get straightened and everything could work out for whatever type frame, or even if you wanted to say repair it properly, I was almost thinking cut the quarter, drill the spot welds, pull both quarter panels off it, and then actually take the benefit of the relationship with Martin Brothers and say, hey guys, I need you to run this through the wheel and the tool and get these panels back straight for me and weld them back up. And then that way I can maintain the original VIN numbers on those two quarter panels and then weld them back on the car. It'd be a lot of metal work, but I don't think it'd be impossible. And I think that would actually add a kind of a cool factor to. So the only panel that wouldn't be left original to the car is the rear bumper cover because that's destroyed beyond. Yeah. But everything else is there and all the stickers are on there. The hatch is actually, the hinges might be bent, but I think it's unscathed.
Right. Okay, well, if you threw that into the mix, then I would say you've got three options staring you in the face. One being part that bitch out, which I think without sitting here and pulling out the pen and paper, is probably your least amount of work, biggest amount of return. If we're looking at this from like a for sale standpoint at the end, when the project's all said and done.
From a business standpoint, parting the car out and taking the quick win on that, Absolutely. So just to kind of put numbers into perspective here, um, right, I'm into my Cobra with all the parts that it came with for 14. I'll probably have close to 10 in the paint. So I'm at 24 and I have all the parts to put it together. So I could be well into easily that car would be under 30K. And I got a super nice, freshly painted black 93 Cobra. This car, if I were to part all the parts out and do everything else, I'd probably get my costs down closer to 20.
Oh, easily. Yeah, for sure.
Right. So it's kind of, and plus the time I'm saving. So
Yep.
it would really make a substantial difference to just say, you know what, sell the doors, sell the fenders, sell the side skirts, sell this, sell that. You know what I mean? And just capitalize, sell that other motor that came with the car. So that would definitely be the most beneficial thing. Now, then you get into the ethical standpoint, right? Of do you destroy this Cobra? Does it have a possibility for a second life? Which I think option number 2 would be I take everything off it that I need and leave all the original panels on it as a roller, that if somebody else thinks they can they want to pull it and straighten it
Straight.
or rebuild it the way that they want to build it, not to the crazy extent of a roadster shop chassis of sorts and all those things, because it could be fixed that way. Like somebody would just say, you know what, get on the frame machine, pull that frame rail straight, get stuff lined up, and despite the metal being fatigued at that point, send it.
Yep.
And you know what I mean? So that would be, how much would the car sell for as a roller? It would be the question mark. Would I get as much versus partying it out? Kind of depends, I guess, on how bad someone wants it. And then, yeah, the third option would be, does this become like a serious build project where you got to invest a whole bunch more money into it before,
Yeah.
you post it up for sale and hopefully get out of that? Or if there's somebody that, the ideal situation is someone comes to me with a bag of money and says, give me the Roadster Shop chassis and build this thing and the Godzilla.
Yeah. Yeah, true. Because just like spitball pricing, I mean, what would that thing, like, just sheer costs with, I don't know, rounded up with labor? I mean, you're fucking crowding 100 grand with the
Oh,
roadster
easy.
shop route. Yeah. So, and I mean, okay, there are 93 Cobras going for big money out there, but like, this thing does have a fairly significant bruise on its reputation too. Now,
Yeah.
sideswipe the Martin Brothers angle into it, and now all of a sudden you got a bit of a cool story out of a shitty situation, though, too. Like if they were the ones to straighten those panels and whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. The third option being the biggest dollar one, like if we were just buds doing this over the phone and you're like, hey, I'm going to start a YouTube channel and I got this fucked 93, it's like, well, okay, you might be onto something here, right? This would be a neat story to follow. I know you don't have fucking free time. Shit, we can barely glue these things together. So like, how the fuck, right?
Yeah. No, it'd be a long-term thing. And that's sort of, because now, and I've paid decent money for the car, more than the average person would probably understand. So
Mhm.
that's why I'm trying to say, like, time and effort on my black 93 to actually reduce my costs by probably 10 grand on that, or get me 10 grand back. A lot of people aren't going to see it the same way that I'm
Yeah.
seeing it from the business perspective, but that's sort of the reality. So yeah, I overpaid, but that overpaying is going to repay itself back tenfold. So now with that said, if I'm not going to part the car out, then it means I'm sitting on this investment. You know what I mean? And I'm not like, yeah, I can sell the other motor and the stuff off of mine, but if I'm not selling those parts off the car or the other things that I'm not going to use, then yeah, that's money that's tied up. It's space that's being occupied. Because now, like with the storms, right? It came with a car cover. In fact, he threw in a whole bunch of shit in the hatch, which was great. And then it was like last night, like, oh, chance of hail and all this again. So I'm trying to get
Oh,
this thing started. And um Right. So when Andrew
Yep.
went to go get it, because I asked previous owner, I'm like, well, does it still start? He's like, oh, I'll probably just need to hit the inertia switch. I'm sure it got tripped, but it should run. And so I guess him and Andrew, when Andrew went to go get it, they're like, yeah, man, this thing just cranks. It won't fire. So yesterday, I'm like, can't hear the fuel pump, bypass the inertia switch, still can't hear the fuel pump. And I'm like, did this thing get hit so fucking hard it knocked the wires off the fuel pump in the tank? And I
Ooh.
shit you not, I dropped the tank. This is like the third fucking fuel pump I've done in 3 months. Dropped the tank out. The filler neck completely like just mangled. I doubt you can pour gas into it. It's like completely pinched, but like it was still in the right spot because everything shifted together, right?
Yeah.
Pull the pump out, both wires off of the butt connectors from the hanger.
Dude, like I can't help but think, especially now after seeing your video and like the actual like repercussions of that car hitting that back corner of that fucking Cobra, like that broad must have been doing 100 miles an hour.
Well, he thinks, I think the road was like a 45, and he said he did not hear brakes, tire screeching, nothing. So he's like, she hit me at least 45.
Mm.
And, you know, if you think about me personally, and I want to get the car up on the lift. So yeah, I managed to get the car running. Right, the axle tube's bent, so it doesn't like it rolls. It still did a burnout. Of course, I did one.
Yeah.
So not happy about it, but it does roll. So I got it inside. So yeah, my plan is to put it in the car trailer, Dale's car trailer, and that'll sort of be storage for it for now. But um, it's got those Team Z Heim jointed lower control arms in it in the back.
Oh,
So they're fucking solid.
yeah.
So if you think about that blow hitting that rear end the way that it did, and it goes through a solid tubular lower control arm into those torque boxes with no bushing to give, it's just a Heim
Yeah.
joint. Like, I think that actually caused more damage to this poor car.
Right.
Like, if it had factory lowers or at least had a bushing or something that the urethane or the rubber could have cracked or whatever it is. This is what people like, all the quick keyboard warriors in the videos are just not comprehending. Like the fact that it knocked the fucking battery out of the battery tray underneath the hood speaks at how much. And I talk about this, right, in suspension stuff all the time. Like, why fucking solid, like caster camber plates with this shit, and you're removing rubber and shit resonates through the body. And my body shop guy with the frame machine, he's like, man, he's like, those cars, their frame rails are so soft. He's like, so much noise transferred through the body of that car from that hit. Like, that is not an easy repair. Like, can it be
Yeah.
done? Yes, it can. But yeah, so that's why I'm curious to actually get it on the lift once I'm done with my silver car. And I want to see like how the diff is, how the torque boxes look. But yeah, man, like you can see it by how much the door sticks out of the passenger. Like everything is just completely moved over a couple inches,
Yeah.
and the hatch stayed
Well,
straight.
yeah. That's kind of the scary part of it. Like, you know, I'm no whatever you'd need to be to like work my way backwards through this wreck. But like when you're talking about those solid control arms, this thing getting clipped like it did, you know, like torque boxes are nothing but like tin, really, you know? And like, so all of that momentum gets thrown into the underside of the car, which, you know, like you say, there's indications up high, like where the hatch is shifted or the door doesn't quite close right anymore. You go like, oh fuck, this isn't good. But when you start translating that to like the underside of the car, like to your point of the Roadster chassis, like that's fucking near the only route you can go. Cause like I'm sure there's specs somewhere in a dusty binder that would tell you like, you know, here's where your frame rails need to be in reference to this, that, and the other
So
thing.
this
But I
body
mean,
shop, the body shop that I have, they have all the drawings and it shows you all the crisscross. So like in your door jambs, like here's where the front of the door should be, the rear of the door, and it's like X, horizontal, vertical, same thing across from door to door, B pillar to A pillar. So they have all the measurements, right? So that way, when they put it on the machine, they can get everything straight. So yeah, like the fact that, like, if this thing had got rear-ended, like just like straight on, I think it probably could have been maybe better to a certain extent. Cause like, I feel like dealing with that and just pulling, like stretching the car back is easier than like dealing with something where you've literally shifted something sideways and now you need to bring that back over. And right, Jordan did a rear frame rail on his Project Zero car because they had chopped it out to do through floor subframe connectors and shit. So he went through all the challenges of having to put that piece in, dealing with the upper control arm mount, which, by the way, this car also has those solid upper control arms, like the one in the carrier bushing that like screw in solid. Have you seen those?
Oh, yeah.
So it was all solid back there, which
race car shit.
yeah, exactly. And it was the owner that owns it now, right? He went through and redid all the suspension and all these things. And of course, that's sort of what the internet and the Facebook groups tell you to buy. Like, oh yeah, no, this is strong stuff. This is what you should use. And which meanwhile, this guy just cruised the car to shows. Like he wasn't racing the car. So it's like all the wrong mods. The only good mods were the brand new Tokiko Blues that he managed to find somewhere. So, yeah, man, I can't help to think like you would, to do it right, that outer quarter, the inner quarter, that complete rear spare tire well floor, and that passenger side rear frame rail, 100%, possibly torque box issues. Again, could you treat it like the shipbox Fox and get a fucking come along on the tree and pull it and do all those things? Yeah, you could. You could cut the spare tire well out and do the same thing like the shipbox or whatever. You know what I mean? Turn it into a race car. But I think that's, coming back to the ethics and ethical Fox body stuff, and it's a 93 Cobra. And like, I think it does have, whether I do it or somebody else does it, I wouldn't want somebody to just do the come along method with it.
No, like, God, no.
But that's sort of the, I guess the challenge there is like finding the right person. If it's not me, finding the right person to do it right.
Jesus, what a trip. Yeah, that I don't know. I know cars will do funny things, depending on how they're hit and where they're hit and all that stuff. But I mean, this to me, without seeing someone on the sidelines that maybe videoed it and can confirm, this to me seems like that gal was hauling. She was fucking late for something.
And the worst part was, right, so he explains the story like there was, he's in the lane, and I get it, right? All of us with our lowered cars, if we're turning right and it's got the hump, you slow down, but there was a bike lane.
Oh, right.
For bicycles, right? So he was like, I used the bike lane to slow down and take this turn. He's like, how she fucking ended up in the bike lane.
Right.
Probably texting, you know what I mean? Not paying attention because he was out of the way. So yeah, man, it's an unfortunate situation by all means. And, of course he's devastated about it. You could tell he had a lot of pride and attachment to the car, and probably why negotiations were so tough as well. Cause, but man, the amount of metal that's been, just the way that the paint chipped off the corner of the roof, that's all from shock that went through the body. You know what I mean? Like it literally rattled the paint off on that corner. It's not because something hit it. Like, so,
and going back to you saying that the battery was out of the tray, like it would have had the hold down and everything on it.
Yep.
Holy Christ. See, because that reference point doesn't even really add up, like how that much momentum got transferred to the front corner of the car, because like pushing from back passenger side, like the front of the car, sure, it's going to move a bit or whatever, but like Did he have any pictures of it, like the aftermath? That would have
Um,
almost even been interesting to see.
yeah, I'm not sure. I'd have to ask him.
Like you think this thing would have been in the flower beds for how much damage has been done, you know? Like,
Yeah. Well, like the door frame on the passenger door is like into the A pillar, right?
yeah.
Like it's definitely got that. So, yeah, man, the uni body, I guess in reality, excuse me, I know like
Did its
it would
thing.
probably like there's crash zones and crumple zones and everything else, but man, that still would have like I'm just trying to think of you hit that, it's going to push the car as well. So you got all four tires that are kind of squealing and pushing, and it's kind of doing that whole
Digging
jerk
in.
thing, right? And it's like one of those things that you would want to see in a crash test, like with the crash test dummies, and just see like how everything moved and bounced and rattled and
Well, dude, that's another thing. Like, I kind of looking at him going like, buddy, like, how's your fucking neck or
yeah,
whatever? Like, you'd think your spleen would be fucking shifted after seeing the damage. And yeah, the fact that this thing blew the leads off the fuel pump, blew the battery out of the tray, and fucked the car up as bad as it did. Like,
yeah.
did the gal's airbag go off? Like, Christ.
I'm sure it did. Of course, the one in the Fox didn't. So,
Right.
but yeah, man, the leads off the gas tank, because like the gas tank is fine. You know what I mean? Like it's literally,
Other than the filler
um,
neck.
yeah, other than the filler neck, like it's pretty much like the quarter panel went into the tailpipe, and then the tailpipe is kind of like into the gas tank, and then it like stopped there. But like the quarter panel and the tailpipe and everything and gas tank are all touching.
Wild.
Yeah.
Huh.
So yeah, man, it's an interesting one for sure. Like I'm happy I have the car, but like there's now it's sort of like okay, there's all these different scenarios, and it's like, am I going to get myself into a larger investment than I was hoping to get some returns real quick on this, but
Yeah.
it might go a different route.
Well, man, like when you think about parting something out for guys like us that, you don't even have to think when you go to the toolbox to grab what you need. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, here's my, interior kit, fucking whatever. Like, I think that you can, if you go the initial route of like, use all the clean shit for your car, part the rest of it out. Sure, you're in somewhat of a heartbroken manner, left with a shell, a fucked up one at that. Like when you think, pal, about like you say, the paint being pulled off the roof corner, like I don't know, you can't help but think that the damage that's been done to that car is probably from the transmission hump backwards.
Yeah, no, and that's what I
You
mean.
know?
Like to me, the only real fix that I would personally feel comfortable with is that Roadster Shop full frame that literally welds in, like you remove all of the shit that's been compromised from the rear bumper to the front bumper, and you got something that welds right into the rocker panels and right into, you know what I mean, the front and rear areas once you could get everything straight, and then yeah, you build out the rest, and then you have a full frame body opportunity for whatever brakes and suspension and everything else you want, which, you know what I mean, we know the costs aren't hidden, right? You're probably 30 grand for a powder coated frame that's loaded with all those goodies on it. You'd be 20,000 more in the drivetrain easily, plus some electronics and everything else. So you're what, 50,000 right there. Cost of the car and getting it straight and everything else, and paint, you're probably another 20. So you're at 70, but then you're at wheels and tires and all the custom interior and the custom enhancements and whatever. So yeah, you're at 100. I mean, of costs and plus labor. So it'd be $120,000 car, which this day and age, I think it would be worth the 120. Like to the buyer that wants that.
Yeah. Yeah.
but they'd
I
have to
mean,
really want it. Like, I know what's going into that 79 pace car, and let me tell you, this Cobra would be half the investment.
yeah, probably, and then some. It's true. I mean, it's probably a fault of mine, but like I always just try to think about these scenarios as if it was me in it, right? And I'm in the scenario. And I probably do myself some disservice, but I think more often than not, you know what I mean? Like I land at a logical mark, but the other side of that is, yeah, there's an ass for every seat. You know what I mean? Like you say about this 79, like, um, that individual could go out and take, say, 50 grand, or I don't know, what's that fucking coupe that's flying around on the auction site? Didn't it sell for 80 or some goddamn thing?
Yeah.
Okay, take 80 of the 2 plus that he's got spent into this pace car and have a fucking uber clean, like probably if it's sold for 80 now and he just whatever takes it to a Cars and Coffee a couple times a year, it'll still be worth 80. You know what I mean? But like
Yeah.
his 200 plus investment is he's not getting back. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
But you're
we're
building what you
Admiral.
want, because I feel like there's a lot of guys, like for instance, look at the Coyote Swap 93 that Donkey has. Like,
Mhm.
I'm sure Donkey paid pretty good money, but probably not as much as the guy had into it.
No.
And that was a clean car to begin with, and you just took away all the pedigree value from it. Like versus this car, it's like you want a Cobra that's modified, and you don't have to devalue what the vehicle is in order to modify it. It's kind of the perfect candidate for that. But you got to be willing to spend that money, because to the point, like I originally had intention that, this car was going to be 15 grand and it was going to cost me 10 grand to fix it, give or take 10 or 15. So I'm into this Cobra for, 30, and it's easily, I get 35 out of it, or maybe
Right.
a little bit more depending on, how nice it really was, which I think it probably would have potentially ticked all of those things if it had been what I thought it was. But even now, like your average guy that picks up that, because the way that I see it is like, yeah, I'll sell it for less as a roller than being able to part everything out, because it's like a one-time deal and I don't need to deal with marketplace and ass chats and everything else. So I don't know, you put a price on that roller of whatever. Let's just go on the high side. Someone's like, I'll buy that for 10 because I think I can fix that shit for 5 grand. Because I know there's
Mhm.
probably guys mentally thinking like they can fix it with the come along and the tree method, and they're going to paint it in their garage or do whatever. I mean, so let's say somebody's invested into it for less than 20. Is it worth 20? Maybe. It's like to the right person, but like I feel like it's going to be a harder sell. It's going to sit around depending on how it was fixed, or maybe if it's fixed properly, but it was hit so fucking hard. You know what I mean? Like your cost to fix it properly and resell it, you've just, all your margin's been eaten alive there. So,
Yeah.
it's kind of like looking at Lewis's Cobra, right? He's in it for not very much money. Theft recovery was pretty much is barely a roller. Like no glass, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
and everything else, it's not original. He went and painted it teal. He put air ride and all these other things on it. But that's all labor he did himself, and that he
Yep.
convinced me to sweatshop my paint labor to. But yeah, I mean, I
But
feel like it's kind of like, even he was like, going back to your point of a good solid foundation. Mind you, this car is rust free. So the question is how much to put it on a frame machine and get it straight.
even then, like, yeah, the comparison I was going to give with, say this one versus Lewis's is like Lewis's is a structurally sound car, like as structurally sound as when it rolled off the assembly line.
Yeah.
This one, like, you better have a decent frame tech, you know? And I mean, I'd almost argue and say you better have a frame tech that's like 80 years old plus, like an old boy.
A cigarette hanging out his mouth. Yeah.
Oh, at least one dart at all times in his mouth, right? Like, seriously, because you think of the intricacies of these unibody cars. I mean, I don't know. Me personally, like, if that thing was put back to whatever mint standards that it should or could be put back to, I think I'd still shy away from buying it. I'd just be like, I don't know. I, I'm I'm 99% there. You got all the documentation and I see the guy with the dart hanging out of his mouth and all that stuff. I'm still like, I don't know. I just can't, like, oof. It just sits odd with me. Now, goes back to my point about me being a really, like, I know this hurts me at times because I'll shy away from shit and probably leave a decent deal sitting on the curb, because there is an ass for every seat. But me personally, I'm just like, nope. I like, virgin or as close to virgin as possible. Like,
no, there's definitely a risk factor in this one. Like, if you think you're going to fix it, or if I think I'm going to fix it, you're taking a risk or a gamble.
Yeah.
But that's why, to my point, it's like, unless I know that whole underside is cut out of the car and I have a straight frame that's been spec'd and the body can go on and be straight again and stronger than it ever would have been, that's the only route. Otherwise, it's somebody else can have at it however they want. And that's kind of I was thinking to myself when I said it in the video, I haven't put the video out yet, but I'm like, the fact that the car doesn't run, it would have ended up at Copart. It would have been non-op. People obviously bid off the pictures and the shit that they see, and the Carfax would have said, okay, yeah, minor hit. I'm actually quite curious on what that car would have sold for on Copart, because everybody would have thought the same shit that I did. Of, you'd barely notice that driver's side quarter panel. You'd be like, non-op, oh, it's just the inertia switch. Oh, the quarter panel and some other shit. We can make this work. Like, I feel like somebody would have bid that motherfucker up to like 16, 17 grand.
Probably. Yeah, you're probably right. When you and I don't think we talked about this on the pod, but when we were talking about after your first visit to Martin Brothers and like cutting the floor out of the car and, did you brace it or not, or how did it go? Whatever. I think now this goes back to my other comment about like the content that could surround, say, a build like that with a Roadster Shop chassis and stuff. I think you would want to almost be like hanging from the roof rafters with the plasma cutter. Like, you wouldn't want to be standing on that car as you were cutting the floor out of it, because I think you could end up pretty banged up. Like, that thing, as you started releasing stress out of that floor, I think that car, I mean, you think about the stress that's just been transferred forward to the door area. Like,
honestly, dude,
those fucking doors could go into like Lambo doors quick.
So even just jacking the car up, so I got the jack underneath the passenger side torque box area, right? And jacked it up so I get up in the air to get access to the fuel tank. And just seeing the way that stuff moved, I'm like, this would be one of those videos that'd be super cool. Like on the frame machine, and you got them pulling, and it's like, do the dents pop out of the driver's side and fix themselves?
Right.
I mean, from the memory, because metal has memory in those scenarios, right? So that actually kind of intrigues me. So I did reach out to my shop and I said, listen, dude, like, I ended up buying this thing. Like, let me know to what state, or like, I'm assuming the bumpers have to be off and whatever. Like, what's it going to take to get this on the machine and get it straightened out? And I'll see what that looks like, because I feel like, depending on what that cost is, if I'm going to sell it as a roller, I almost feel like that should be done. So if I could at least say, okay, it's straight. And I guess there's the fast track chassis versus the the other one, the bolt on, right? the spec chassis. I guess as long as they got everything to line up properly, I'd be curious to know if the spec chassis could be a viable option as well. I'd probably say instead of bolting it, I would weld it in key places. And then that way you're not chopping floor pans out of it. Like maybe enough of this could be kind of beaten, like beat it straight, get it stretched straight, and you could do a spec and weld it
But then
on,
you
and then
got
that way you're all reinforced.
then you got the physics of like all that heat transfer from body to frame as you're welding the ever living piss out of this thing. I don't know. Yeah, you might want to find an old welder with a dart hanging out of his mouth to see what his thoughts are on that too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think like all things considered, if I was in your shoes, she's a donor. It's going to make your life so easy on that black car, right? And
Well,
then like
that's happening regardless, right? So it's really just, does the car get sold as a roller once I take my shit off of it, or is there another life to possibly rebuild it?
I would, again, if it was me, like I'd gut that thing right down to like Lewis's shell standards.
So you're full
And
part out.
oh, 100%. Yeah. I'd probably hang on to the body kit. Be about the only thing I'd probably hang on to.
Well, you know what's funny is I actually have an OEM 93 Cobra rear bumper cover up in my rafters
Oh,
that I got from Liz. Got the VIN sticker on it too. So that was the thing when I was excited. I'm like, dude, I have that tail light already, and I got that rear bumper cover. You know, I'm like, if
right.
it's just that one rear quarter, that's why like going into it, I'm like, easy peasy. I got everything I need to fix this thing.
Right.
Um, but you know, now it's turned into something completely different, which is fine. I think there's a lot of opportunity there too. Like, I don't know. I guess I'll see how a couple more visits at Martin Brothers goes, and you know, seeing how that pace car comes together and get some ideas. And who knows? Maybe there's someone that's seeing that build on their page. It's like, oh man, I want something like that. And
Yeah,
it's
they
a
got
little ironic. Like there's a little bit in there that's in the back of my mind, like, you know, it just happens that I've now witnessed, because I didn't know the fast track frame existed. I just thought it was that spec chassis. I didn't know they had
yep.
that other option. Apparently it's been around for quite some time. So um, I don't know, man. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, serendipitous almost.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so fill me in on the Martin Brothers thing. So what have you been there down there now? One time? Twice?
3 times. And you know, first time was just sort of kind of like introduction and trying to get an idea, because like obviously a lot of stuff has changed for them in terms of their media exposure, because no more Motor Trend. And like a lot of people think, oh, the show got canceled. Well, it's like the network got canceled, not necessarily the show here, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, like everybody else, it's like, well, and I don't think they need the social media, but it's one of those things it's important to have. Like it's free marketing and there's a lot of benefits to it. So um, I just happened, I think it was a rendering of that 79 pace car that they posted up. And I was just like, man, how can I be a part of this? Like,
Yeah.
they're not in my backyard. Like it's an hour and a half with no traffic ride one way. But, you know what I mean? That's close in respect to a serious Fox body build. So went down, met with them, and yeah, a lot of stuff aligned because it's the newest car in their shop that they're building, right? And a lot of their
Right.
stuff has been LS power plant. They've actually changed a lot of the ways that they do stuff, right? Like all the paint used to be in house, right? We remember Shorty's custom paint. They got rid of their major paint booth. They got rid of it so that they could actually focus on more fabrication work and have more tooling for metal fab and custom shit. So they've got 5 painters across the country now that they book out according to whatever project timeline and everything that they're working on. So Joe will still do like the custom, you know, airbrushing or like tidbits, but he'll actually go to where the painter is and not necessarily do stuff in house. So
Huh.
that was kind of an interesting thing. And then apparently now they're like roadster shop everything. They're like, because they
Hmm.
used to build all their own frames, right, on the frame tables and all that stuff. And they're like, honestly, for the amount of time that it takes and effort, they're like, you can't beat these roadster shop chassis because, like,
Right.
they showed me the welds and everything else. They're like, why wouldn't you just do this? It's already done. So it allows them to focus more on all like truly custom projects. So I think that that's the more interesting part. And like, I think it's like a 5-year wait currently.
Wow.
And like the amount of time and effort, it really gives you an appreciation for like this pace car is going to be a year out from completion. Just to kind of put it in perspective. And like just to the last time I was there, we were doing some primaries for the headers. So schedule 10, like piece by piece stainless bros kit of header piping to fab up what's going to obviously come off the heads and work its way down to the turbos. And it's pretty much like one primary per day,
Wow.
you know, between, and it's like just even watching their like bandsaw unit cut through that schedule 10. Like, dude, you might as well as go drink a coffee, have your lunch or whatever, because it's like you can't make it any faster because if you cut it fast, it's going to go crooked.
Yep.
And you know what I mean? And then it's beveling the edge and then it's making sure that it lines up right. And then it's, oh shit, I got to shave a little bit more off. And you know what I mean? Like, it's amazing the amount of back and forth. And like, me and you can appreciate some of these things. You know what I mean?
Yep.
With the cars and trying to, especially if it's suspension and it's like, okay, that coil came in and out fucking 10 times and got cut, you know, 9 to figure out exactly which ride height you want or whatever it might be. But this is just like next level. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like fabbing custom headers from scratch, making floors from scratch, transmission tunnels, like the way that all the fuel lines and everything are all going to be routed through a special channel at the top of the transmission tunnel and its own little hallway, if you will.
Hmm.
Like just crazy. Like, man, they made a die for their Pullmax machine that makes the body molding in the metal. So that
Oh
line in
yeah.
the door and the rear quarter panel, so they made a die to do that. So they cut out the section in the rear for because there will be no gas door. It'll be like behind the license plate. So they made a panel for the back. And if you look at the one from the die is actually it's crispier than factory. So it's always like what I'm about, right? Like those sharp body lines. So they're actually doing what Lawn Dart wanted to do with the original Lawn Dart project is it's like molding delete out of the bumpers and it's all going to be that custom die shit. And I think they might even do the bumpers out of metal versus out of the urethane and run it
Hmm.
through all this shit. And so it's some next level stuff for sure. And it just
No.
happens to be a Godzilla swap. So that's right in my wheelhouse as well. And yes, it's pretty exciting, man.
No shit. Yeah. That's a it really is wild to see the true blue fabricate from nothing. Like we're talking like pretty much alchemy. You know what I mean? You're creating A from B or A from nothing, you know.
Yeah.
Um yeah, that is next level shit. Holy Christ. Um so is the guy like the client or do you know like Texas guy? Does he got a thing for
No.
the 79 pace cars or what's the
So he's from out of state. Um, and I'm not sure the fixation on the pace car thing. I'm hoping to actually find a way to like interview him or maybe we can get him on the pod. I don't know.
right?
But you know, because there's a few things that it's one of those like he has an idea and And that's sort of like where I come into play with this build, right? Because like they're not familiar with the Fox bodies. It's sort of like, we don't know, kind of the do's and the don'ts, or like what the trendy stuff is, or like, you know what I mean? So the client has his, like, for instance, he wants to keep it a sunroof car. And they were like, yeah, we were trying to convince him to like do a carbon roof or whatever. I'm like, fuck, I'd T-top this thing. Like, if
Well,
it
at
were
this
me,
point, yeah.
because it's all rotted. Like, I'm like, a T-top fucking pace car would be sick. So, it's kind of like navigating that, and like the turbos, like where to put them and where to place them, and like how, I mean, things kind of fit and flow and go through, because yeah, it's just they're used to like the older, bigger cars and everything else. So it's yeah, it's pretty cool. So we'll see. I'll try and get in touch with the owner if we can, if that's something that's possible. And that's another thing too, right? Like, it's their viewer base, and this is really interesting because like their YouTube channel is new and it's growing, but just even looking at the analytics. So for anybody that's interested, me and Gary we're 44, and our demographic, I think, on both our channels are like an even split of 30 odd something percent, from 35 to 44 and 45 to 54, right?
Yeah.
Martin Brothers, that split is 55 plus.
Oh,
So they're on the 55 to 65 or 64, and 65 plus is where their 60% of their viewership lives. So it's kind of one of those things of like, okay, we got some old heads in here. Are they going to be interested in Fox body content? Number one, because it's pretty new in relation to, somebody who's in their 60s, let alone 70s. And, we tried it because the guy there is like, oh man, like, we were making fun of the music that's played in traditional Motor Trend shows. It's all like
yeah.
metal, I mean, all this stuff. So we're like, yeah, man, like, throw something else in there and we'll try it. And, so it's funny getting the feedback from a completely different perspective of audience. So in the last video that I helped out with, I'm like, yeah, man, I got some like Texas twangy metal shit. I'm sure people will appreciate it a little bit more. But yeah, so it's kind of like and I think this is important, right? And it's actually saying something, that all this custom work and fab and everything else, all the old guys, to your point, find the 80-year-old with the cigarette hanging out of his mouth because he's the expert and he's the one that knows all this stuff. It's like, the type of work that's being done at that shop needs to be getting sponged and absorbed as much as possible by a younger demographic.
Yeah. Well, and maybe YouTube will help change that. But, my initial impression after hearing that is I would justify the older demographic being attracted to these guys, or even knowing who they are for that matter, comes from that like, say, that 55 plus crowd that, I guess their method of consuming content was TV.
Yeah.
Not their phone, not their whatever, right? Like, these are probably guys that turn their phone off for a week at a time and leave it in the cupboard until they go down the road to the grocery store the following week. You know what I mean? Like, whereas the younger crowd, it's like, what's on TikTok? YouTube is almost old school for them.
Yeah.
So, and then you combine all that with the older flavor of vehicles that Martin Brothers was known for working on too, right? So you're naturally going to have that older demographic attracted to that stuff. So yeah, that's interesting how that works. But then the other one I would say, as maybe some justification to that, is like, what 20-year-old kid's got 200K laying around to build a fucking car with? You know what I mean? Like, think about us at 20. It's like, hey, let's my buddy's got an amp. Let's wire that fucker in for Friday night. You know what I mean? Like, we're bare bones. You got
Well, I
enough
was
money
thinking
for
it more
gas.
from like the education and the skills and the
Yeah,
trade perspective, right? Like,
agree
somebody
totally.
to metal work and, use a French wheel or come up and fabricate dies for like just to even get the appreciation of how much time and effort goes into the smallest thing, because a lot of people don't get it, and they don't understand what it takes just to be able to make that body line or be able to reproduce that panel. And I told him, I'm like, dude, you just recreated the most sought after piece of panel for a Fox body owner that lived anywhere where there's corrosion.
Yeah.
Because they do not offer that piece, and it's the perfect piece. If you guys, I'll paint the picture if you're not, viewing this, but behind your rear tire, that section of the quarter panel where your tailpipe runs underneath it is like the first place to rot if it's seen any type of, salt or brine or whatever it might be over the years. And it's the easiest panel. Like if it's just that lower section, you literally just need what's behind the molding, like to that height, because you can weld behind the molding, put that piece of panel in, the molding will cover your seam, and you'll have a repair. And any other panel that's ever been out there has been, you got to buy the whole rear quarter panel.
Yeah.
Right. So, and by them making this die, they literally just fabricated that section of the panel like it was nothing.
Yeah. How do you know how they make the die? Like, do they have a CNC machine or something that's building this for them? Or
funny enough, I need to pay a little bit more attention to that. So if the one video where we were messing around with some exhaust stuff, I actually, and I forget what he was working on, like some old 30s something, and he was doing fender flares and he was working there with the big vise, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm making this die. And he was literally there with like the grinder and whatever and shaping this thing out and then going back to the car back and forth. Man, he worked on that thing like for hours to get it right. Now, I can't tell you what the starting point of the material was that he was using versus and how he got to where he needed to be. But yeah, like
crazy.
And that's what I'm enjoying about this too. Like, I don't even, like, I feel inferior in every way. Like, yeah, I know a lot of stuff about Fox bodies, but man, talk about, like, to me, it's like, I just love, call me the fucking apprentice or I'll sweep the goddamn floors. Just let me like watch and see what the hell's going on here.
Yeah. Sponge up intel.
Yeah.
Huh. So, okay. So Martin Brothers, like, do you have the story? Like what I was going to ask is, I would assume start out like any other hot rod shop, right? You're going to restore cars and flip motors and do whatever. And then got into like, well, I wouldn't think paint was probably like one of the niche, maybe it was, I don't know. And then, over time gravitate towards like, hey, we got the right guys here, the pieces to the puzzle. Like we're pretty good at fabricating. Let's just go to the like more fabrication route. Cause like there's so many places that you can stop along the road of restoring cars, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you just think of the basic ones. You can be a painter, you can be a fabricator, you can be a mechanic, you can be a whatever. But I'm always interested in like how you went from, hey, we should take a stab at doing this to where they are now.
Yeah. So I don't have the full story, and I'll do my best to track that down. But my understanding was Joe was like into motorcycles, which kind of explains the airbrushing and the painting and the fab stuff from that perspective. And ironically, Adam, the guy who's been doing a lot of the exhausts that I've been working with, he used to make like those crazy road bicycles, like those 1 gear race, like competition 10 speeds that are just like a 1 speed thing. So that's where, and I want to say his background's like business or marketing or something by education, but it's like, oh yeah, but I was TIG welding bicycle frames in my fucking apartment, for fun and selling them for fucking $10,000 out of all these crazy metals and shit. Right. So,
Wild.
Yeah, so it's very, and like speaking to him, so it's funny how both these fabricators technically have whatever bicycle and motorcycle. but I think it's sort of the easiest thing. I think like back to when we were kids, bikes were our mode of transportation. And if you couldn't afford a car, but you wanted to get on a motorcycle, you know what I mean? Gas is cheap and it's cheaper to buy and everything else. So I think there's some interesting correlation there of how the bicycle stuff kind of evolves and develops into something, because like, yeah, we tinkered with our bikes all the time,
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
that we could do. Right. So, um, yeah, I'll have to dig into that some more, but, it's crazy how like that can just grow from something. And I've heard it, right? Like I remember, um, somebody saying to me, like, and I think I was like in my teenage years or something. It's like that whole when you're trying to figure out what you want to do or be, and someone's like, did you take like pens apart when you were a kid and like make a custom pen out of like 3 pens or anything? I'm like, oh yeah, fuck man. I always took pens apart. Is like sort of like, yeah, that's exactly like the engineering creativity fucking mentality road, right?
Yeah.
So um yeah, no,
Mm.
it's cool, dude. And it's just like a whole other level of, is it's one of those things like you just, it's so odd, like whatever. If I ever end up putting a piece of metal through the French wheel or something like that, I'd just be like, this is something that it's almost like being an astronaut to me,
Yeah.
is like fascination. You know what I mean? It's like, how do you get that out of that?
Totally. How many square feet are they operating out of?
So they used to just have the one building, and then like over the years, it's all these buildings are up. So like they have like the metal fab area, they have an interior area, um, they have like all this storage and racks and fucking everything else. Um, and then yeah, so there's technically one, two, they're operating at like four quite large structures.
Okay.
Like I'd say
All
like
separate.
combined. Yeah, all separate. So you kind of like have your dirty machine work in one, and then like interiors, your spray glues and vinyls and leathers and MDF and all that shit in another. Um, Wiring and like final assemblies in a very clean area. They're putting together this Nova, which I've actually got footage of. I'll get some of that out. Um, Absolutely beautiful build. Um, yeah, so I want to say, if I had to guess, man, they've got like 30,000 square feet of space there, plus connexes and whatever else. Like maybe a little bit less, but like, I don't know. There's quite a bit of room.
Yeah. Huh. Do they have any sort of numbers, or have you gotten into it with them? Like, how many builds can you guys handle at a time or anything like that?
You know what? I did ask that, and I forget off the top of my head.
Right.
But there
I
there
guess it
is a
would all
good number
depend
of stuff
on,
going on. Yeah.
yeah, like with this pace car being so involved, that's maybe going to take the space of, say, typically two or three lesser involved builds and whatever. Right. But
Yeah.
Um, I know I'm always intrigued by this shit, right? Like, and then you go, well, if you want to get real technical, like boil it down to staffing, right? And like, do we need to hire more for this? Where the fuck are we even going to find someone to do it? We need to find another guy that was building pedal bikes in his apartment, like all that shit, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that
From
would
the
sort of
business.
be kind of revolving around some of the projects as well, right? Like how much fabrication do you need, or do you need an expert who does exhaust or body panels or floor pans or whatever? So, and I think that that's probably where, you know what I mean? It's like we don't really need a full-time painter. We just need painters when we're ready for paint,
Yeah.
because like unless, and painters just want to paint, right? Like that's the artistic thing about them. They don't want to be like fabricating necessarily stuff when their passion is behind the gun. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, no,
I mean,
there's definitely quite a bit to learn in there. A lot of
yeah.
intricacies that make all the wheels turn and everything else. But clearly, they're doing something right, man. If you got 5 years worth of work ready, like just imagine that you'd almost have to say, okay, I'm going to retire in 5 years. At this point, is the cutoff point of no more projects.
Yeah. No more new builds from here on out.
Yeah, like that would just like I'm good for a year, maybe even 2. But man, anything beyond that, like I'd be nervous personally.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. And I mean, so much changes in 5 years. Like people's lives change, people die. Like, you know, so yeah, that's tricky. And I guess this kind of builds off of what I was saying, like from a manpower perspective, or like how many builds they can do, whatever. I mean, I think, well, most of us can assume this or know it firsthand. Like so many things in life, you just do and figure out as you go. Like how's this going to work? I don't know, but we're going to find out, right? And we'll shimmy and shake and pivot in the middle if we need to. So I don't know, even say 25% of their 5 years worth of builds consists of we'll figure it out as we go. I mean, there's still a lot of thinking that's gone into that 75% that's left over. Like you need, well, shit, you just think about like the administration of all this. Like who's ordering parts? Who's making sure this is on track? Who's calling Joe Blow from Idaho to get a draw from him so we can keep the fucking lights on? Like
Yeah.
there's a lot going on there. Who's
Yeah,
ordering
no,
fucking
they've
wire
got
for the fucking welder? Like all this shit. Who's got shit tickets covered this month? Like what? There's a
yeah.
lot to think about.
Well, that, and yeah, it's like they are a tourist destination as well, right? Like they had a group of like 8 people from New Zealand stop in, and of course, like depending on who's there and who's available. And funny enough, dude, I think it was the second visit I drove the yellow Dutch there, and so I had it parked out in the front, and Nick is I guess he's sort of like the face, so he's the one who like orders parts, and he'll be like down in the merch shit and crowd control, if you will. So he comes out to the back. He's like, "Man, there's a couple that saw your car, and they need somebody to like help them with their son's Fox body or some shit." Blah blah
Oh,
blah. So he's like, "Can you come out to the front?" So sure enough, I go to the front, and it was a lovely couple from, I think they were originally from Oregon, and they moved to Dallas area, and their son unfortunately passed away,
ah,
and had this blue Fox Body GT, and somehow the theme worked. It had a yellow pinstripe in the
oh,
GT molding with yellow wheels and stuff. So almost like a Subaru vibe,
yeah.
but on a Fox. And so yeah, so the parents just kind of want like a few things refreshed and some things gone over, because obviously they want to keep it as a tribute to their son. Um, but yeah, it was funny because like so many people there are used to like all the older stuff, and they're like, man, that's like just to have a newer Fox body there, and the amount of interest and intrigue, and like,
Yeah.
oh, now we can finally see what that pace car will sort of look like when it's not just a hunk of metal sitting, over in the corner type deal. So, yeah, I mean, there's something
Well,
about the boxes.
oh, 100%. I know I was laughing. The one guy you were talking to, maybe it was the guy with the dies, and you're like, "Okay, bud, like what was your first memory of a Fox body?" And he's going like, "Nothing."
So,
And I know what it's like to be on your end of the camera, obviously,
yeah.
right? And I'm like, "Oh, fuck, I'm feeling bad for Chris right now. This is a face plant." But I mean, to your point or my point or anyone that would ask anyone else that question, like you are 99% guaranteed to get an answer from that question.
So
You
he
know?
came back. He came back at the end of the day, and he's like, dude, I do have a Fox body story.
See?
So I'm trying to get every single like staff member to share a Fox body story, and I'm going to do like a compilation of them together. So,
Yeah.
yeah, funny enough, I want to say like 50% of them involve like losing control and wrecking the car.
Unreal. Yeah, which is funny because right, we've kicked this around a bunch. And this is quite fresh in my head because I got a couple short videos that are like getting into crazy territory and or crazy people territory on Facebook. And it's that fucking age old bullshit, right? Like, oh my God, I can't believe it didn't hit the tree or the fucking ditch or the whatever. And I'm like, look, I encourage you to like scour the web and just search Mustang hits the shrubs. I'm certain that like way over 90% of them are new edge shit and like plus,
Yeah. No,
you
for
know?
sure, man. Yeah, I got a lot of in the Cobra. It's like, oh, another whatever Mustang doing Mustang things. And I'm like, no, it's 19-year-old girl driving BMW things, like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
TikTok.
pretty unreal, man. When you get in outside the algorithm, it's always a little frustrating, which I did finally get some monetization on Facebook. So BJ was right.
Okay.
I think it's because I became friends with him
Yeah.
that Facebook opened their arms to me.
Right.
I think I've made $10. It's like $1 per post.
Nice. Good return. I think I've shared this with you offline, but for those interested, I was on that train. It's probably like a year and a half ago or 2 years ago now, and I've been in jail ever since.
All right.
And, yeah. And
so how much money do you think you've lost as a result of being locked up in Facebook jail?
Oh, geez.
Because like you have, and I was actually creeping some stuff because like your shorts, like even on YouTube, let alone Instagram and whatever else, like you actually do quite well with your shorts in general.
It's kind of making me rethink. If I didn't enjoy the long form as much as I do, I think I'd just be like shorts aficionado. Because you're like, fuck, when I look at how much time and effort I put into a long form video versus like my kid films me out the window, it's like, the math doesn't line up.
Yeah.
So, okay, like I was doing quite well with Facebook, at least. I'll try to explain more, like from a pound for pound perspective, like how much effort went into putting a short video up to what I was getting in return. And so let's say on a monthly basis, and this only went for a couple of months, and then I was in Facebook jail. On a couple month basis, I was making like $500, $600, $700 a month.
No shit.
Like, yeah. So, and then all of a sudden, bang, I got this red exclamation mark going, you have whatever fucked up and done something outside of our policies that you agreed to, and you're no longer available to monetize stuff. I'm like, well, fuck. And I guess one of the things that I enjoy the most about the monetization end of content creation is for someone like me or anyone else out there that's ever like tried to sell a product, like a B2B sale, right? Where, hey, I got this thing, I'm going to tell you about how it's going to solve all your problems. That's one end of sales. This content creation monetization, in my opinion, is like the best sale ever, because if it's worth watching, there's shit that happens in the back end. There's no exchange from me to the other person that's consuming it. It all happens, this couple pennies here, couple pennies there. And, if you get a bunch of views, that translates into more pennies, right? It's brilliant from a sales perspective. It's not sleazy, especially if you're not trying to dupe people into watching stupid AI shit or something, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I love it. And I love if I'm making something and I'm laughing, making it, I'm like, fuck, man, hopefully, like you just start feeling like someone on the other end of the screen's also going to laugh, maybe make their day, whatever. So yeah, I was on this pretty decent roll anyway. And anyone that's listened to us for a long time now knows both of our sense of humors. I was getting maybe a little edgy with some of the stuff, right? And whatever, cutting off the square corners of what is, acceptable in society. And all of a sudden I get this fucking strike and I'm no longer allowed to monetize. I'm like, well, shit, this was going pretty good. And meanwhile, in your little like back end account, it's showing that Facebook owes me like $400 or something. I'm like, okay, well, whatever. I'll take my licking and I'll try to fix it. But when's the check in the mail, guys? Right?
Right.
It's still sitting there 2 years later. Right?
Oh shit.
Like they're just hanging it out over your head. And I'm like,
so have you asked for like forgiveness?
Dude,
gone to Facebook confession or some shit?
Best of luck getting a hold of any human being at Facebook. You know,
Yeah.
like it's wild. So following that, I'm like, okay, how do I fix this? Right? Like this was seeming like it was a pretty good deal. I go through and I'm like, well, yeah, that post was a little edgy. Ah, shit. Okay, whatever. Maybe I'll pull it. And I'm trying to like essentially de-lice my account. You know what I mean? And then, and I read the policy. I'm like, okay, like, I mean, if I offended somebody, like it's going to be a wing nut. Like this stuff's all just done in like pure comedic fashion. So I'm like, I don't know if that's it. And I tried to get a hold of somebody. And it was just this circular bullshit that would lead me right back to where I started every fucking time. And I just got tired of trying. So after I kind of gave up and just sort of admitted defeat, anything I'd post would just kind of slug along. Like there was no real traction. I'll be fucked if inside like the last month or so, that's when these videos take off for me again. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, it'd be nice if I was monetized again because they're on tears.
Yeah.
You know, and I've got this like previous experience to know like roughly this would translate into a few $100, whatever. And but yeah, I'm still in jail. And now to close the loop on this, and this will be actually good intel for you and anyone else out there that wants to horse around with this stuff. Something that I've recently stumbled onto that I didn't realize, I guess goes against their policies is, and I'm wondering if I'm falling under this category. So Facebook wants 100% like pure, only posted on Facebook content, like original. So what I was doing at the time, because you know every platform in social media land is encouraging these 60-second or less videos, right? So I'm like, post it here, post it there, you know, and you're kind of getting all the different genres of people that are paying attention to whatever app. I think I fell under that. I think their crawler technology or whatever is like crawling through YouTube and going, hey, shit's over here. Why is it over here? Doesn't look any different to me. Strike, get in fucking jail. Best of luck to you.
So I've noticed that, like, not that I'm avid on TikTok. I just kind of wanted to make sure that I had my infamous project handle on there and just threw up a couple generic videos and everything was going well. And then, because ironically, right, like a lot of people take their TikTok videos and post them on Instagram, and that doesn't seem to be an issue because it always shows the little TikTok fucking splash thing at the end. But I tried going the other way, and it's like, yeah, if you do that, it's pretty much this content exists somewhere else. We're not showing it to anybody. And then I'm like, okay, well, I'll try and just do content. And twice with the yellow car, it like gave me some bullshit like, yeah, this breaches our blah, blah, blah. And dude, it was like civil fucking rights of something. And I'm like, a yellow car that, like, what the hell? There's not even, you know what I mean? Nobody talking. There's nothing in the description that's offensive or whatever. And then I noticed I was like trying to like follow people that were following me, and it would say I'm following them. And then if I'd refresh, it's just like, no, tried updating the app. So I'm following 9 people on TikTok and I cannot follow anybody. So I just gave up. I'm like, fuck this platform. Go fuck yourselves. I don't like, my name's there. I own it. That's all I need. So
Yeah.
super frustrating, right? And like, to your point,
Yeah.
Instagram had a monetization thing going on for a while. And like they were doing all that testing. And dude, I was maxing out every month. There was like that max bonus, whatever. It was like $250. I hit it like 4 or 5 months in a row, no problem. And then it's like they just took it away. So like the only thing now is like the subscription shit. So I'm like trying to, and obviously Facebook and Instagram are sort of two in the same. So I think they shifted all the monetization over to one, trying to do shit over here. And like this is the frustration of being a content creator, is like you want to diversify your stuff and you want to be able to reuse your stuff, but they don't want to allow you to reuse it. So just like, yeah, it's a cluster.
It is. One more detail that'll probably help people make more sense in my situation is Facebook, at least. I can't speak for the other platforms, but they do not tell you which policy you've screwed up with. They just tell you that you've gone against their policies, and their policies are like 8 pages long. You're like, right. Like, how about a little direction here? Like, give me a page number at least, you know?
Like
so yeah, they just tell you that
13.6.2b.
Yeah, they're just like, nope, you went against the policies. Which one? Right? And then again, you're like, hey, try to get a hold of somebody, which you can't, and just point me in the right direction here, guys. I want to play by the rules, like whatever. And it actually makes me think it's quite scary. Like if you were feeding your family off of content creation, like just how quick and easy that can literally go away.
Yeah,
and
tab can just be turned off.
Oh, dude. And to your point about like, you're just posting a yellow car, like who is this offensive to or whatever, right? Like I'm using a lot of percentages tonight, but like I would not be surprised if like 98% plus of the content that is being reviewed is all being reviewed with, ones and zeros from a computer standpoint. And it just goes, oh, I see something in the background. No, we're not doing it. Right. Just based on what it's told. And maybe the coder fucked up when he was making the code that says what's good or what's bad,
Perfect example, right? Mr. Meow had his Instagram account and they went through and, it said something, they had to put an age restriction on Instagram accounts. And you had to put your birthday in. So Brittany puts in his actual birthday and it's like, oh, you're too young for Instagram. Your account's deleted.
Oh, Christ.
It was literally like that. It was just, you fucked up. And so anything and everything, all the posts, everything from Mr. Meow they were gone. And then like, I shit you not, like a year and a half goes by and I get an email saying, oh, we accidentally deleted this account in error. It's been reactivated. You can log back in. So go to log back in and it's like, oh, we can't, like, yeah, you're logged in, but we can't retrieve any of your content. It's gone. So, you know what I mean? And that was like, and I know some people have gotten hacked and they lose their accounts, or maybe there's something else that goes on. But to your point, man, like when you're kind of depending, or if you're actually feeding your family, like I think Whistling Diesel got demonetized off something. And he was like, man, like I'm losing however many hundreds of thousands of dollars because of something. Yeah. And he's like, I can't get a hold of anyone either. And he was banned off Twitter. That was another one. He had like this big thing of get me my Twitter account back and I'll give you X amount of money or something. Or I won't. There was something like for Elon. He's like, or I won't post a video of this or some shit,
Wrecking the Cybertruck. Yeah, it was something to do with the Cybertruck.
So, yeah. But again, when you got millions of fucking followers or subscribers or whatever, you got a little bit more pull, or they might take your requests or inquiries a little bit more seriously. But yeah, to us, it's just like, oh fuck, just pull the plug on them. They're done.
Yeah. Well, and with the shit that I've gone through with them, what's funny about this for me lately, like again, having some traction on that Facebook platform, is I remember thinking when Zuckerberg went on Rogan and he said, yeah, you know what, like this whole woke thing we've been doing and whatever else we're going to go away from. I'm like, oh, well, maybe that means good things for me again, right? Like somebody just trying to be funny and do whatever. And then, but still just mucking along, my stuff that I'd post would go nowhere. And then all of a sudden recently I'm like, oh, okay, what's going on here? And it makes me think like, okay, somebody somewhere was getting money off this, right? And now it's not like, I made a movie over the last 3 years and I put it up and I'm not getting any return from it. Like, these are videos my kids filmed for me, whatever. But it just kind of makes you go like, what the fuck? And further to that is this whole like 100% original content thing. It's like, well, guys, like, don't you think that's a little extreme? Because if another platform thinks that this thing's good and a lot of people see it, wouldn't you want to do that too? Because most of us, I think, know like the basic premise or like the modus operandi of these fucking social media platforms is how long can we keep them glued to their screen, right? So if content's engaging, like that's kind of your product, right? And those fucks don't even make it. We do. And then we give it to them for free and whatever, right? But so if this stuff's good, why would you not want people from your platform see? You'd almost think they would want less original content. Yeah, and the bar to get in is how good is it doing somewhere else?
It's like two different networks that show the same TV show.
Yeah.
I mean, like somebody wants to say they may want to have first rights to it, and then the other network will buy it and show the reruns. Like there should almost be like a time limit. Like if you post it on YouTube and that content's a year old,
right?
Then who the fuck cares? Let it be a rerun and every other goddamn platform that's out there. But like if you just say you post it, it's like one and done, and you can never post that on any other platform without getting a strike against you. Like that's pushing it. And that's trying to like, and maybe that's Facebook's way of trying to attack YouTube. You know what I mean? And try and get more stuff on there. Like who knows what's going on in the back end? Because like I've noticed like even Caleb from Foxcast, he's doing a lot of shit on Facebook now. That's independent. And I've seen some other guys kind of doing, well, even myself included. It's like, well, why wouldn't I want to diversify? But at the same time, I don't want to have to create twice as much content just to feed both machines.
Right. Well, that's what I've always wondered too. And again, I don't even know if this is like, it's the non-original aspect of my content that's got me in shit anyway. It's just the only thing I can really truly think of. Because like I said, I deliced my account. I got rid of the edgy shit, or what might be deemed as edgy. So I'm like, what else is there? Like, what have I done here? You know what I mean? Yeah, it's like that brings up the next question, which is, well, what's original? Like if I say there's, the closed captioning on my video, like if it's pink on one platform and black on another, is that now like, somebody tell me where the fucking goalposts are. You know what I mean? Because I don't know where I'm kicking this goddamn ball.
True. Yeah, I don't know, man.
And yeah, when you're in the business of trying to encourage dumbasses like us to post shit on there, it's like, you're not making it very friendly here, guys. And your AI that's, deeming it as this, that, or the other thing, or unpostable is not that fucking good.
Well, thank God we have the pod to vent. I wonder if we lost like fucking 50 listeners listening to us complain about technology, but
well, dude, I gotta throw one last thing in there because you threw your plug in on TikTok. Okay, and I'm pretty sure I've told you this. My close buddies know, but I am not the organizer of my TikTok, ladies and gents. My wife has tried to encourage me to get on there. I said, hun, you want to set it up? Go ahead. Because I said, I'm having a hell of a time managing the ones that I got in front of me right now. So she did. And I'll be damned if like some of the silly shit that she's just took when she was walking around ponies or whatever is doing really well. And she's like kind of walking around with her fucking chest puffed out, right? Like, oh, I've got this thing all figured out now. So it's hilarious in the back end of our lives. You know, like she's obviously dangerous enough to like a comment or whatever, but like, you know, people engage and they're like, hey, where'd you get this? What wheels are those? What's this? What's right? So throughout my day, I get fucking screenshots from my wife. Hey, I'm fucked here, right? Like, help me out. Yeah, that's literally TikTok in our household. It's
Nice.
fucking hilarious.
I gotta say, I'm happy to see you got her behind the steering wheel, shifting gears.
Okay, dude, here's a little backstory on that. I should have just filmed the whole damn thing, but didn't bring my camera. All we were doing was moving the vert here from the shop and the coupe down to the shop. So I said, oh, you want to come with me? Yeah, sure. So we get there and she's asking me, hey, you know, do you got any bites on the car, whatever? And I don't know. I just started thinking and getting a little reminiscent about it. I'm like, fuck, you haven't even drove the vert, right? I'm like, well, we got to take it home from here. Let's take it for a rip. And she's like, shit, it's been a lot of years since I drove a stick. I'm like, oh, fuck. It's like riding a bike, right? You'll figure it out. And if there was ever another car to get behind the wheel of, you know, after a bunch of years, it's a stock Fox. Like, yeah, they're a fucking flat deck truck. You got to be an idiot to stall one. You know what I mean? So anyway, she gets behind the wheel and the parking lot of the shop is gravel. It's not even gravel. It's hybrid, more dust than gravel, which drives me nuts. But anyway, I back it out, put the coupe in, and I get her turned around so she doesn't got to piss around trying to get it into reverse and shit. Gets it into first. I said, okay, I'm going to film you, right? Oh, shit, really? Yeah. I'm like, whatever you do, just, you know, let this thing get to a point of damn near stalling and then get on the field. Don't do the whole whatever rev up shit because I'm like, it's dusty in here. And this thing's got the fucking mechanical fan on it. It's a tornado of shit that I'll have to deal with. Actually, funny enough, you asked me about the duster. That's when the duster's sitting on the ponies. So, as luck would have it, right? Wee! Dust everywhere. I'm like, oh, fuck. So whatever, get her outside the gate, close the gate, jump in the passenger seat. And as you pull in off the driveway into the gate, it's kind of a downhill. So now she's got to navigate it slightly uphill. I'm like, oh, fuck, here we go again. Sure enough, right? Dust bowl, whatever. I'm like, well, let's take it for a rip and see if we can't blow some of this dust off the poor thing. And that was when I did a little filming. But yeah, before I even started filming, I'm like watching her and like listening to the car. I'm like, where are you shifting? 4,500. I'm like, fuck yeah, let's do this. Right? Let it eat.
Nice. Yeah, no, it's cool to see. Yeah, because I think Brit's the same way. She had something that was manual back in the day. I think it was like a bug or something. And so she's driven the strawberry car a good number of times. And every time she's always nervous at first, and it's just like, you drive it fine.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what you're nervous about, you know? So anyways.
Oh, and they're one of the, like in stock format, like you almost couldn't find a better rig to get behind the wheel of. Probably one for even like a first timer, and two, somebody that's getting back into it. Cause like pretty hard to screw this up.
Probably the best rig. Well, maybe not due to its size, but in terms of like learning the clutch, is the fucking Viper truck, dude. Cause you don't even need to give it throttle.
Right. Yeah.
Like there's so much torque right down there. It's just slightly off the clutch and she's going.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's definitely cool to see. Cause we've got stories of like her driving my green one. Actually, she had to drive it one time pregnant with Kaylee, I think it was.
I think I remember you telling me that story.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, that was, I mean, hell, it was probably somewhat kind of stockish at the time, but definitely not anywhere near it is now, and has, you know, its tendencies and its things you need to be aware of when you're driving it. But yeah, like stock car, shit, man. I can't think of any other reason or any other vehicle that I'd probably want to teach all my kids to drive in, you know?
Right.
Good field of view, fucking all kinds of torque, you know, pretty whatever. You might stall it once or twice, but you'll get the feel for it real quick, you know?
Oh yeah.
But then like I learned how to drive stick in a Plymouth Sundance. Remember
Oh
those little
God.
things?
And that was
Yeah.
a manual. I've only ever seen that's like a manual K car.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, four-door Plymouth
Very rare.
Sundance.
Yeah.
And then there was the Dodge Shadow, which was
Well, if you
kind
got
of
a
like the
Shelby
Capri
edition.
and yeah. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because didn't they do a Shelby in like the Daytona or something too?
Yeah. Daytona,
Yeah.
that stupid shadow thing. Yeah, it was weird. They started getting into some really odd scale shit.
Yeah. And when you're trying to learn stick in something, well, probably damn near like, well, yeah, it would be like pretty much anything new in a manual, maybe aside from like some of the V8 Chevy shit that's still push rod, but like all this stuff is like overhead cam, you know, makes power from 3200 and on. Like there's really no good way to get that V8 torquey
Oh, dude,
friendly feel.
I learned on like a 92 Honda Accord or something, like
Oh,
hydraulic
fuck.
clutch. Like the worst thing that you could ever ask for, because you're just
Yeah.
like, you got to get revs up and like you can barely feel engagement. Like that whole
Yeah.
mechanic aspect of a cable and engagement is gone. Man, I stalled that motherfucker time and time and time again. And funny enough, I had my first 83 5 liter, and it was like, jumped into that thing, and it was like boom, it all made
Correct.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely a good argument for, like you say, cable throttle, cable clutch, something like torquey, right? Um, and yeah, because you're almost doing yourself a disservice otherwise. Because, like you say, you just cannot get that like visceral feel from things, you know, and they're quiet, right? They little hummingbird engine in them, you know,
Oh yeah.
like it's, yeah, you just can't get the same deal out of them. So I think a Fox is like perfect, you
Yeah.
know? But yeah, like think about, well, I think I don't know, like say a new Mustang GT would probably be somewhat, I don't know, it'd be better than what we're talking about, like a Sundance or an Accord or whatever. But I don't know, like even then, right? Like everything's so, I don't know.
Drive by
It's not
wire.
like the old, yeah. Yeah, it's not like the old fucking air cooled Porsche days, you know?
Like it's there, but it's like, what's the word? Like synthetic.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
100%.
Yeah. So it's like, unless you know the concept of conventional,
Yeah.
you're not gonna, you know what I mean, know the benefits. Because like, don't get me wrong, the synthetic approach is nice. Like a drive-by-wire throttle pedal is always, it's consistent, it's whatever. But unless you know, again, the conventional aspects behind it, you know, it'll be really hard to figure it out.
Well, and definitely hard to go backwards, say. Like if
Yeah.
you had a hydraulic clutch and a drive-by-wire car manual scenario figured out, I think it would be harder for you to go the other way, to back to like analog, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you start in analog and go forward, you already have that sort of appreciation of things. And I
Yeah.
mean, even better than that, you know, go to like an old like Dentside Ford or something with like farmer low,
Yeah.
you know, that won't stall, right?
Yeah.
Like they'll climb a house. Then, you know, like that'd probably be the best, you know, because then you could just, okay, bud, like just let her out slow. You'll feel it start to grab and it'll shimmy a little bit, you know, like, and now you've got an idea of like, okay, right. Well, and then maybe you start out in one, right? You got to give her a little juice. And but yeah, I think we're definitely doing the next gen a disservice with how things are so technologically advanced, right? Well, and going back to like the newer Mustangs being the ones that are hitting the poles, like, you know, traction control, right? If you drive that thing all of your life, other than when you're leaving a Cars and Coffee and traction control, how the fuck are you going to know what this thing's going to want to do when you speed shift into second?
Yeah.
You're not. And that thing swaps ends and points itself towards a pole, whereas we didn't have any choice in these old girls, right?
No.
Like, you learned from the second you turned the key on, you knew it was going to bite you if it wanted to, right?
True that.
So, yeah. Anyway, buddy, that's probably a good place to wrap, eh?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, beauty.
I gotta piss anyways, so instead of taking the break, let's just wrap her up.
It up. Wrap her up on some manual tranny talk. Okay, well, thanks for listening, ladies and gents.
Yeah.
And do we got anything to update them on coming up stuff? Oh, okay, before, I know your teeth are floating. Where did you and BJ land on this fucking road trip thing?
Oh, yeah, so I think we're going to do it end of June, which ironically might mean I'm like, should we be dumb to hit up the 5-0 Fest in Cali and go 5 hours the wrong way before we come back to Texas?
Right.
And so, yeah, we're just trying to get the dates sorted out and everything else. But yeah, no, it's happening. I got a set of 4-bolt ROH drift Rs from Ryan Wellington already shipped to dude's house. So we got the wheels and tire shit sorted out, and yeah, it'll just be like having all the parts ready to swap stuff out and send it.
Right. Well, shit, maybe we'll have to bring BJ back on closer to the date and get some of the pre-planning shit ironed out.
Yep.
Nice. Okay, beauty. Well, thanks for listening, folks, and we hope you enjoy.